First and foremost, a huge welcome to every one of you for joining the London Bird Club AGM. I also want to say a very big thank you to the London Bird Club and London Natural History Society post holders who contributed in some way or the other to make the LNHS one of the most active societies of its kind in the world. Because we have a lot of slides to get through, my reports are going to be very brief. In terms of key matters, I think the sort of the headline news is that we have resumed the field meetings, and we've already had about 6 so far. This is outside the period covered by the AGM, but it's a very important step change given the issues we've had with COVID. My thanks to Shalmali Rao Patterson for her efforts in organizing it. As you know, we haven't had the indoor talks, but we've had a fantastic program of LNHS virtual talks managed by Kieran, Maria Roberts, Anke Marsh, and David Howden. So my thanks to them. My thanks also to the ornithological speakers who've agreed to speak at them or been happy to have the in-person talk sort of redirected to that platform. A big thank you also to Howard Vaughan, who will be speaking later on Rainham Marshes. Next, please. We've had some changes of personnel during the year. Nirma De Silva took on the role of treasurer from George Carley, and Amy Mui Liu took on the role of field meeting secretary from Shalmali Rao Patterson. A big welcome to the new post holders, and a big thank you to the outgoing post holders, both of whom sort of have held their roles for over 5 years and have played a big part in everything we've been doing. Finally, on volunteering, the London Bird Club and the LNHS have a huge range of things we do. So, and we can always find people, find roles for people who are interested in helping, whether it's to build out their CV or because they would like to contribute in some way. And one of the ways is to be a species account writer in the London Bird Report, and you will see a slide later on that. Next slide, please. On the talks, as I already mentioned, so we haven't held the 6 regular talks we hold during a normal year. Because of the COVID situation, I think it's most likely that we will only resume in the period September 2022 onwards. So that concludes the 2 sections that I was going to speak to, and I will hand you back to Sally.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Gian. So now for the other reports. So I'm going to read through these reports, hopefully quite briskly. So we'll start with the Treasurer's report. So the accounts for this year from 1st of July 2020 to 30th of June 2021 were submitted by George Carley. The balance carried forward was £308. The year began with an opening balance of 214. Income included a grant from the LNHS Central Funds for £400, lower than the previous year due to COVID. There were no lecturers' fees and expenses. So total expenses were £433, including the Reading Circle Journal subscription. And to update the present position, as of 31st of October 2021, the bank balance is £258. And for approval, further to a letter received from HSBC on the 5th of November 2021, the committee is asked to grant the Treasurer approval for the use of HSBC's telephone banking service, and that it accepts the primary user will have access to the accounts and make payments solely. Okay. So field meetings organisers report. So during the reporting period, no field meetings could take place due to COVID. However, we have an update. So field meetings resumed from September the 21st with 9 meetings for the period until February 2022. At this time, 5 meetings have been held. From September 2021, LBC has introduced an updated risk assessment document for walk leaders to confirm prior to their field meetings. And the field meeting programme for the period March 2022 to April 2022 is being worked on with some new locations, which you can see there. And the report was given by Amy. Okay, so the London Bird Report from Derek. So LBR 2019 was published on target at the end of May 2019. We'd like to thank everyone involved in the collection of records, the writing up of accounts and the papers and the production team, and in particular our data manager, Roger, whose workload increases every year. We have had some very positive feedback, but there are a number of complaints that the packaging was insufficient and some copies were damaged. We're investigating this issue, but it could have serious cost implications if the postage is in a higher bracket. Work on producing LBR 2020 is going well, and we hope to publish this by the end of May 2021. Despite COVID, or maybe because of COVID, the number of records has increased to nearly 500,000, which makes writing more difficult as there's so many more records to sort through. We're looking into ways of reducing this number without losing information, and any ideas would be gratefully received. Pete Lambert, he stood down as chair of the editorial board at the last AGM. We do not have a direct replacement, but we're spreading his duties through the board and welcome Annie Wilson to help with the secretarial duties. And during the year, there've been problems updating the LNHS website. The files from LBR 2019 were sent in June. The Recording Birds page is updated, but the London Bird Report has still not been updated. Additionally, we've become aware that records from years 1988 to 1994 are missing from the Giggle database. Investigation and solutions are ongoing. And we're planning to make more material available on the LNHS website. Plans are still at an early stage, but would include the gazetteer, the Vice County boundary map, the first and last migration dates by year, and corrections. And as always, we're looking for more people to help in producing the report. So if you're interested, please email, and the address is given there. And as always, a call for writers. So the London Bird editorial, I'll say that again, the London Bird Report editorial board is looking to expand the number of writers. So it's a chance to sharpen your skills as a birder and a writer and have a citable piece of work. And there's more details there, but we'd very much welcome people to get in touch and join us. So John Borham's is a representative on the London committee report. So 3 Zoom meetings attended of the LNHS Library Committee this year, including one after the reporting year in September 2021, and books relevant to LBC that have been agreed to purchase, decline or cancel are listed below. And again, if you can read that here, I won't read them out. Rarities Committee, Bob Watts. It's an eventful year for the chair of the Rarities Commission.
Sally, you've muted yourself, I think.
Okay, so I just, hopefully you heard from London to Belfast, and I'll carry on.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, thank you. And this has had no bearing on his position. He's happy to continue in the post. He's kept in regular communication, as with all parties, as per the pandemic. So cattle egret 2020 records are no longer required for a description from Rainham and Lee Valleys. Most circulated records continue to be of photos taken from the internet, and the committee continue to bemoan the lack of descriptions of birds of prey, many of which languish in the appendix. So, Reading Circle report by Angela. So we currently have 12 members compared to 15 in July 2019 to June 2020. We have a deficit of about 285, almost the same as the previous year, but the journals are circulated to members and then sent to the LNHS library, so the library benefits from the Reading Circle subscriptions, and we would welcome more members. Twitter Master Report, Donna Zimmer. So London Bird Club Twitter has 6,285 followers, and the London Birds hashtag is now established and being used by followers to share not only ornithological observations, but blogs, photography, as well as important conservation news in the area. And Donna also runs the London Natural History Society Twitter account, where she's promoting wildlife observations other than birds using the hashtag London Wildlife. Okay, so election of officials for 2021. So the people whose names are on the list have not been opposed, and we seek your agreement to elect them en bloc. So if I could have a proposer, primary and secondary. Or has anyone got any objections? Maybe that's what I say first.
Yeah, Sally, so if there are no objections from anyone to any of the individuals listed, then we can go for a vote en bloc. We do need 2 people placed to, one to be the proposer and one to be the seconder. So please don't be shy if a couple of people could put their names forward, please.
I will propose it's Helen Baker.
Thank you, Helen. And
hi, Michael Wilston, happy to do the seconding.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you. And Gian, over to you for any final comments. Or...
We just need to vote.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
So if we give people a little bit of time to just register their votes, that's great. So still a few people to vote. So we'll just give you about 10 more seconds. Okay, and I think we'll end the poll now and I'll read out the numbers. So we've got in favour 41 plus the 5 co-hosts who, and the technology doesn't let us vote, so it'll be 41 plus 5, against 0, and we've got 3 abstentions. Thank you. That brings our polling to the end. So back to you.
Thank you. And Gian, over to you for any final comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Maria. So that's great. Obviously, the business end of the AGM has been sorted out. My thanks again to everybody who joined the AGM and who participated.